What does it mean to truly be human? Not as an abstract idea in a book, not as a solitary individual, but as a living, breathing reality. For thousands of years, African thinkers have asked this question not in lecture halls, but through life itself. Through stories, proverbs, rituals, and songs, they sought to teach us how to live, not just how to think. And yet, many still ask, can this oral wisdom even be called philosophy? Long before ink touched parchment, African wisdom traveled by voice. Elders, storytellers, and priests carried knowledge across generations. This was not abstract knowledge for debate alone, but practical truths: how to care for one another, how to live justly, how to honor the sacred order of the world. Stories were philosophy in motion. Proverbs were lessons. Rituals were frameworks for understanding life, death, and the connections between the seen and unseen. But the question persists in Western thought: is oral wisdom real philosophy? Europe, India, and China are celebrated for written schools of thought: Advaita, Confucianism, Buddhism, where philosophers debate truth, existence, and morality in texts. African oral traditions, by contrast, have often been overlooked because their wisdom lives in practice, not only in writing. Perhaps the question is misplaced. In Africa, knowledge and life are inseparable. Thought is enacted in relationships. Ethics is woven into daily action. The pursuit of truth is inseparable from the care of the community. Yoruba, Zulu, or Shona stories embody coherent worldviews, ways of understanding reality, guiding action, and shaping society. To dismiss them as mere folklore is to mistake the form for the substance. Within these oral traditions lie seeds of universal reflection. Knowledge carries moral responsibility. Humanity is realized in connection, not isolation. The good life is inseparable from communal harmony. This is the philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. Compassion, generosity, respect, and reciprocity are not optional. They are constitutive of human existence. So, the deeper question is not whether oral traditions count as philosophy. It is whether philosophy must always be written, abstract, and named. In Africa, philosophy has always been meant to be lived. From spoken word to inked scroll, African philosophy finds one of its earliest written expressions in ancient Egypt. Imagine the sun rising over the Nile, its light revealing a world governed not by chaos, but by order, balance, and cosmic law. For the Egyptians, this principle meant truth, harmony, and righteous living. An unseen thread binding the cosmos, the community, and the human heart together. Texts like the instructions of Tehotep or the Book of the Dead were not mere manuals for living or for death. They were explorations of justice, virtue, and the moral architecture of existence itself. Here, philosophy is inseparable from life, guiding kings and commoners alike in how to act rightly, honor the divine, and cultivate inner balance. Every decision, every relationship, every ritual was a reflection of the greater cosmic order. But what does it mean to live ethically in such a universe? Were the Egyptians simply prescribing rules? Or were they teaching how to become a conscious participant in the moral fabric of existence? These questions about life, death, and purpose still resonate with philosophers today. Egyptian philosophy was not isolated. It influenced neighboring African cultures, spreading ideas of justice, morality, and the sacred. Early African thinkers remind us that philosophy can be practical and profound, linking ethics, politics, and spirituality into a unified vision of life. Beyond the Nile, across the vast expanse of West and Southern Africa, philosophy took a different form. Less written, more lived, more felt. Here, the individual does not stand apart. Being is relational. One's identity is intertwined with the community, and the self is only realized through others. I am because we are, the saying goes, a declaration of interdependence. A moral and metaphysical truth embedded in daily life. Ethics, politics, and spirituality are not separate disciplines, but parts of a single tapestry. Each story told by an elder, each proverb shared by a storyteller, each ritual performed in the village courtyard is a lesson in living well together. Wisdom is not abstract. It is tested in the rhythm of communal life. the balance between caring for oneself and caring for others, in the recognition that human flourishing is inseparable from the flourishing of the whole. And at the heart of this philosophy is a concept that has resonated across centuries: Ubuntu. The Nguni languages of Southern Africa, Ubuntu captures the essence of human moral existence, a recognition that our very humanity emerges from our relationships with one another. Compassion, generosity, kindness, respect, reciprocity. All are not just virtues, but the necessary conditions of a life fully lived. I am because of you. These words are more than a moral maxim. They are a lens through which to see the world. A philosophy of connection that frames every action, every choice, every human interaction. In Ubuntu, the line between what is and what ought to be dissolves. Because to be human is already to act ethically, to honor the mutual bonds that sustain life. It is a philosophy that teaches us that flourishing is not solitary. It is communal, embodied, and ongoing. And yet, one might ask, if ethics arises naturally from community, can it guide us through injustice and suffering? Can it survive oppression, colonialism, and social fragmentation? African thought answers with resilience, a thread connecting elder wisdom, Ubuntu, and philosophies born in adversity. History disrupted these living philosophies. Colonial powers imposed foreign languages, religions, schools, and dismissed indigenous knowledge as inferior. Stories were silenced, rituals disrupted, proverbs ignored. Yet African thought did not vanish. It adapted, it resisted, persisted. In the face of domination, thinkers began to reclaim the intellectual heritage of their peoples, asserting that philosophy need not be confined to written texts or to forms defined by distant lands. The very idea that reason, morality, and metaphysics could be expressed orally through story, proverb, and ritual became a radical statement, a philosophical stance in itself. Consider Edward Wilmot Blyden, whose vision of negritude sought to liberate the African mind, or James Beale Horton, a physician and scholar whose political insight challenged colonial hierarchies. Barristers John Sarba and Joseph Hayford codified laws and constitutional principles rooted in indigenous understanding, proving that Africa possessed political and ethical sophistication equal to any other civilization. Their work was not merely resistance. It was philosophy applied, reasoning about justice, human dignity, and the organization of society in distinctly African terms. And still, the question lingered, can this be philosophy? Must it measure up to Plato or Kant? Or can philosophy also live in community, in story, and in practice? From this debate emerged modern African philosophy, voices that grappled with decolonization, identity, and the reconciliation of tradition with modernity. Kwame Nkrumah spoke of consciencism, uniting communal ethics with the demands of political progress. Leopold Sédar Senghor celebrated negritude, honoring African cultural identity as a source of dignity, creativity, and philosophical insight. John Mbiti explored the spiritual and ethical dimensions of indigenous thought, showing how African cosmologies offer coherent frameworks for understanding morality, existence, and human purpose. These thinkers asked a fundamental question: how can African heritage, long marginalized, contribute not only to African life, but to universal philosophical inquiry? They recognized that philosophy is not merely abstract reasoning. It is also lived experience, ethical engagement, and cultural insight. In doing so, they carved a space for African philosophy to stand, not as imitation, not as ethnography masquerading as thought, but as a tradition rich in reflection, debate, and moral imagination. And the story is not finished. Today, African philosophy continues to evolve, engaging with ethics, politics, gender, ecology, and global challenges, drawing upon the deep wells of communal wisdom, history, and spiritual insight. It reminds us that human life is never solitary, that knowledge and virtue are inseparable, and that the questions of identity, morality, and belonging are as urgent now as they were in the villages where stories first began. At the heart of African philosophy beats Ubuntu, a word, a concept, a way of being. It represents humanity in its purest, most relational form. It is not merely a guideline for behavior, nor a poetic ideal. It is a philosophical lens through which the world is understood. I am because we are, it whispers. Your humanity, your dignity, your moral existence are inseparable from mine. Ubuntu is not abstract, it is action. Compassion, generosity, kindness, respect, and care are not optional, they are constitutive of being. To live ethically is to recognize the invisible threads that connect us, the social, spiritual, and emotional networks that define human life. It challenges the lonely self, the isolated ego, the notion that morality can exist outside community. Here, ethics is not a set of rules. It is the lived reality of interconnected existence. Through Ubuntu, African philosophy offers a vision of flourishing that is deeply practical, yet profoundly philosophical. It asks, what does it mean to be human? Not in isolation, but in relationship. Not in competition, but in co-creation. Not in abstraction, but in the concrete acts of living together. It bridges the Azot divide. To be human is to do human, to enact virtues in the very texture of daily life. From these principles, modern African thinkers drew inspiration. Archbishop Desmond Tutu invoked Ubuntu in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, guiding a nation from division toward healing. Philosophers and scholars like Henry Odero Rukapalan, Houghton Gee, and Kwasi Wiredu explored how traditional wisdom could inform reasoned debate, ethics, and social thought. It's showing that oral traditions and communal knowledge can carry philosophical weight equal to written treatises. Ubuntu's lessons extend globally. In an age of isolation and fragmentation, it reminds us that our lives are entwined, our responsibilities mutual, and our flourishing inseparable from the flourishing of others. African philosophy is alive, dynamic, and urgent. It is woven into stories, proverbs, rituals, and communities. It confronts universal questions, not in abstract debate, but in lived experience. Humanity is a conversation. Our lives, like the stories passed down through centuries, are threads in a larger tapestry. To live fully, ethically, philosophically, is to honor that interconnectedness. I am because of you, and you because of me. Pause, reflect. How does your life echo Ubuntu? How do your actions honor your connection to others? Share your thoughts below, and join the conversation on the living spirit of African philosophy.